Hi, welcome to Noise in the Gallery, an inspirational podcast. My name's Joy Nkoyo and I'm a musician from London. For this podcast, I want to take a dive into the minds of some of the most fascinating, innovative musicians I know. We'll be discussing their influences, their journey into music and creative process, and I'm hoping to pick up some new ideas along the way. If you want to get inspired with me, stick around.
The first bars were, I'm free from this cage called fear. As soon as I said that, everything changed. When I saw Caravaggio's painting, I was like, this is what my art looks like. This is what it looks like. This is what it is like. I like to come from a place of darkness and then build on top of that to create this beautiful picture. And that's why there's always a mountain in a lot of things that I do, or just very
symbolic.
It's very symbolic.
Yeah.
I think it just represents progress. I didn't think I would get the reception I wanted, or anyone would hear it, or whatever. And then I put it out. But once I put it out, I accepted. It doesn't matter if people do or don't. I'm just using my talents. That's what the project is actually about. Just use your talents and give it to the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who sees it. You actually used it.
Today I'm honoured to be joined by my first guest, an artist called RICHMND. He's a rapper, a music producer who also directs and curates his own music videos. He's been steadily building a buzz around himself with a stream of underground releases and social media presence. And he's also part of the Converse All Stars community, which is a global creative collective. He has some really exciting projects that I'm really looking forward to discussing with him today. So let's get to it. Let's start with where we first met. I think we first met a couple of years ago, sort of 2020 time.
Yeah.
And I think we've met twice since then. But what really struck me about you was your work ethic and sense of intention behind everything you do. I just think we really connected, and I knew I wanted to have you in and pick your brain. Let's talk about the first thing I heard from you, which was Zwa. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, Zwa. Yeah, Zwa. Yeah.
Would you call it a mixtape or album? What do you define it as?
Yeah, I'll call it a mixtape. I'll call it a mixtape, yeah. Do you know what? I would call it an EP. That's how I saw it. Yeah.
Do you know why I saw it more as like a mixtape or even an album? Like, obviously it's got quite a few tracks, like 6, I think, but it's the storytelling. It's got this narrative and it feels like a body of work in itself. And I do remember listening to it in lockdown and I loved the kind of motivational feeling. It was very uplifting, the messages and the songs, and also sonically. It's classic, but forward thinking at the same time. Let's talk about the process for writing that project and recording it. You self-produced it?
Yeah, self-produced the majority of it. And then I had another producer as well called Lou, amazing producer. And he helped out, I think, on the last song. And he helped out on the second half of More to Me. But everything else, produced by me. Yeah. And
what about the writing and the concept behind it? Did it take a while to curate that?
Zwa was such a beautiful project. I started it in 2016, 17. I started producing in 2016. Yeah, started producing in 2016. And then what happened was I was just making so many beats. And the reason why I started producing was because I never had beats that I wanted or instrumentals that I wanted. I wanted my style to be very like soulful, but with a bounce. That's where I always wanted to be around. Soulful with a bounce, or soulful and timeless, or soulful and cinematic. That's like my premise. And that's why I am. Like, as an artist, I say that my art is cinematic, soulful and timeless. But I need to learn how to create that. So what happened was I had these beats in 2017. And then they were beautiful beats, especially like Zwa. I made Zwa. Like, Zwa was like one of the most earliest beats I made for the project.
You never knew me, chill, you thought that my name was high last week. Wait, when I'm in a state, I'm calm. When I always pray, I don't fear anyone. Like every day, I am not bothered. To everyone who didn't hug and spot me when I was broken, young.
And then over a period of time, just more Groovy 2 came. And then Ricochet came.
I'll explain everything. I need a round. No faith, queens and kings. I need a crown. Maybe peace sound. If you can't see, I got like gather around.
And then all the other ones came later on. And then like around 2018, that's when I done like the track list. 2017, 2018, I done track list. And then I wrote some of them during those times. But then when it got to like 2018, it just started formulating in a weird way, like, this makes sense. And the instrumentals kind of all work together in the sense of like, there's like a weird dynamic to it, a beautiful dynamic to it, so to speak, where, like you said, that motivational feeling. And then when it came to 2020, I was just finished. That's when I finished all the lyrics. But then that's the year that I kind of like was preparing to like kind of finish it and release it as well. So yeah, it was a long process.
Yeah, it's interesting like how many stages that you went through and the amount of time and effort it actually takes to make a project like that.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's probably influenced the fact that it feels quite eclectic, like you're drawing on quite a few different things, and that's probably because of the amount of time that's sort of passed. Sonically, who were your influences for that record? Because I heard a bit of A Tribe Called Quest almost, like sort of old school hip hop 90s.
That's funny. The 90s really influenced me a lot. I don't know what it is about the 90s. Like, I think something, because again, I was born in 96, so being young and growing up, we're still getting the back end of the 90s on TV and stuff. So that had a big part to play. But I would say, I think just growing up and watching music videos and stuff helped me a lot as well. From, you'd get the Jennifer Lopez, you get all these different kind of like different dynamics. So sonically, I would say, when it came to the 90s, I'll do my research, I'll look at the rappers, and then I'd be like, okay, Wu-Tang Clan. And then I'd be like, okay, cool, Method Man. I was like, oh, Method Man. Okay. He has the style that I would like to do, which is mixing rapping with singing kind of vibe. And then my lyricism came from Nas kind of vibe. Like I've always been poetic as a person, is why I used to write poetry. But then Nas kind of helped me, allowed me to like continue doing it in a way where it's like, it just flows within the music now. And then on top of that, that kind of progressed, and then it's just an accumulation of so many different things. It's crazy. Like, even as we're talking about it now, I'm kind of like,
oh yeah, and there's this. And
it's like, wow, it was just, I kind of like mixed everything I'm influenced by. Whether it's like going from Kanye West's production to, like you said, A Tribe Called Quest's jazzy element to it. Then also mixing trap and then mixing.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ricochet.
I'm loud and loud like the clink. Fresh out the box like the man and fresh home from the wink. Like how can you win? It's when it stays on so past the pad you're missing tech. You ain't got a touch like a Murray Lump, busy on you, you're moving wreck.
That track, the flow from it's got that UK, like, I don't know if drill's the right thing,
because growing up as well, like there was a channel called Channel U. That has a big impact on me. Channel U had a big impact on me because when I look back at it now, they were using samples on some of their grand beats as well. And I was like, oh, wow. And they're rapping fast. And I was like, oh, shoot, imagine that on something soulful. I always had that weird mindset of like, imagine rapping fast, but on soulful music or something that's cinematic. As I've always been into film, so I just wanted to create a world. That's what Zoa is. Zoa was like a world to me. Is a world to me, and that's how I want to treat all my projects. I always see it as a world that's its own space.
Yeah, I actually get that from the cover art too. It's a drawing of what I assume is you, and you're sort of surrounded by all these buildings. It's like a postcard almost, but a cartoon, and it's quite escapist. That picture's quite fascinating, and then around the edge you've got all of these like words which you can't actually see, but it just frames the drawing, and it's kind of graffiti style. It's just cool to look at, like a lot of different things going on that sort of raise questions and invite you in. Who did that, and what was the process making that?
I did that.
You did that by yourself?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm an illustrator as well.
It's another string to your bow.
I'm influenced by comic books. I'm influenced by mangas and animes and stuff, and cartoons. I've always been into animation and all these things, and storytelling is a big part of me, whether that is music, whether that's videos, but also in illustration or drawings. And I think what inspired that cover art is, I don't know why, but I always tend to get visions of mountains when it comes to my music journey or my journey in general. And that's why there's always a mountain in a lot of things that I do, or just very
symbolic.
It's very symbolic.
Yeah.
I think it just represents progress.
Yeah,
You know?
this is very interesting because I was going to say a lot of the narratives in your music, it's very relatable, but not in a trivial sense, like in a deeper sense of that overcoming narrative, which we find in hip hop a lot, like older hip hop, and just, you know, telling tales from the day-to-day struggles of life. Would you say you were influenced by hip hop in doing that, or is that always kind of been the way you are? You like to be frank?
That was beautiful. Yeah, that was a good question. I think it's me. I've always been a motivational person. Like, it's funny because I have some friends that know how I can really rap. Like, I can rap in many different ways. I could show off if I wanted to and just put all these punchlines together. I could diss people if I wanted to. I have the option to do that. I can. However, what I realized is I just want to become the man that I wish I had. I just want to change a lot of things, because there's people who talk about change and there's people that create change. And I want to be that person that creates a lot of change. So I think for me, it was coming from a place of I'm naturally a motivational person and I love to motivate people, but it just comes out of my music. And hip hop just gives me that canvas to paint that picture. So I would say it's who I am. However, hip hop is the avenue that I've gone to.
Yeah, it's a creative choice as well.
Creative choice, yeah.
Yeah. Does it ever make you uncomfortable, like towing that line? Because obviously when you're telling a story, there's an element of creative expression, right? So how do you find balancing that line between, you know, wearing your heart on your sleeve in your music, but also dressing it up into a story or whatever? I
think it all comes back down to access, I think, for me. And I think what happens is early in your career, it's kind of 50-50 sometimes, because what you want to do is, I can tell you exactly what happened to me when I was a kid or what I've been through. And that can pull you away from the feeling of the song or the beat or anything like that. So it's coming from a place of, it's like when you meet people, like you don't get to know them straight away. So I feel like I try to use my music or my art like a relationship. Like, I'm still early in my career, so I'm not going to reveal too much right now. And the more we go on in this journey, the more you get to know about me.
It's the layers.
It's the layers.
Creating that intrigue.
Like it's not trying to force this mystique and mysterious kind of vibe, but it's just, that's how I am as a person. Like, I struggle with trust naturally. So if I give out certain information too early, it would be like, a picture could be painted of me too soon. So it's just understanding that, wow, let me build this relationship with people. Because that's my music is a relationship with people. It's just another form of a relationship. Like, I'm just building with people and growing with them. So yeah, I would say it's 50-50. Yeah.
That makes sense. Let's talk a bit about your beginnings and, you know, coming into music. How did you discover music growing up? Was it through school, or was it like a big part of your home life?
I never knew I was going to do music. It's weird. Like, I think my only earliest memory of music was like literally watching music videos. But in particular, there was a song that changed everything. Because I was singing it for 20 years. I never knew you sang it. I would always sing the lyrics. I'd be like, you know that I love you. Like, I used to always say that randomly as a kid. Like, even until I was 20. And then I found out it was Donell Jones, You Know That I Love You. When I heard it at 20 years old, because I came back home from work, I was tired and I wrote down the lyrics. I was like, you know what, let me just search it up. And I played it. I started crying. Because that is the song that sparked why I'm soulful. Because even when now that I understand chords and keys and all these things, all my songs, all the songs that I love, they all come from that kind of style. Da, 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 da. And it's similar to like Stevie Wonder. Then when you open C1, it goes to Pharrell. It goes to all these different great musicians. But I never knew that happened to me. So I knew that was there growing up. Then when I got to secondary school and grime was so big, everyone just started like writing lyrics and stuff. And they started writing my lyrics and stuff. I can't remember them right now. All I remember is Richie Rich. That's what I remember. But then all of a sudden, when I got to like 15 and 16, I just started writing more. Because I was doing English as well. And I was very good at English. So it's like, I can just articulate myself. And being an artist, I was like, I could write my ideas too. I could write what's in my head. I can film it, but I can also write it. I could draw it as well. So it's like, let me just mix it. So long story short, 16, like 10 years ago, basically. It's like an anniversary for me, technically. Because 10 years ago, that's when I started recording music for the first time, being in the studio. And it's scary because the rest of my journey after that says where it is. But what I realize is that I don't have a musical background like other people. I never grew up in a choir. I never have people in my family that done music. That's not been my life. But ironically, my dad revealed to me that his dad was a guitarist and used to sing. And now how my dad told me this year how he used to get music ideas, like melodies that used to come to him, but he used to always push it away because he just wanted to focus on music, on money because of his family circumstances.
Yeah.
So he always had music. So when he just revealed that this year, and it was like, wow. So music is in me.
There's
but
a connection
it just got,
there.
it is a connection, and it just got passed down. So I kind of inherited it without knowing.
That's interesting. So your family are from Congo. Did your parents like actually grow up there?
Yeah. So my parents grew up there, and they came here when they were like in their. My mum came here when she was early 20s. Literally like when she was 19. Sorry. My dad came in when he was like early 20s.
Oh, okay, cool. So how would you say your heritage has impacted your music? Because obviously it's a big part of who you are, and the word Zwa is a nod to that, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
How much would you say it was like a conscious choice to sort of draw on your heritage in your music?
I feel like we're like in the industry. You get people that they when they show they Nigerian, they show they Ghanaian, they show they all these things, and that's why I wanted to say Zwa, because I remember my dad, and my dad's voice is deep. My voice was like, so I remember my dad will say stuff and be like, Zwa. And then in our music, Zwa would be like an ad lib, or it would be like a onomatopoeia that would be said in a lot of Congolese music growing up.
Really?
So literally, there'll be da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Zwa. And it's like, I always heard it as a kid. And it was like, he's literally just saying give or take. And that's why it goes back to the concept of the story of the project, which is to give to the world and to use your talents and give it to people. That's where it comes from. So I would say that the language itself has a big impact on me, because that's something I've heard my whole life. So then it was like, I'm just using what I've heard my whole life and just kind of implementing that, because it introduces my country, but it also introduces my talents to the world. So yeah.
For me, when I hear about Congo, it's always about the stuff happening there, the wars, the this, the that.
I think what's happened to Congo and a lot of things that Congo has gone through, it plays a big part, because sometimes I feel like Congo is forgotten. We're also people.
And I think it could be represented more in an artistic way, actually. From my personal perspective, it's refreshing to hear an artist like drawing on that, because as you say, Nigeria and Ghana, like you get that a lot with the Afro beats taking off at the moment and stuff. But yeah, Congo, that's something kind of different, which I like. So I want to know, what was the first medium, the first creative medium you found? What's interesting about you, you're an all-round creative. Like, you could write, you were good at English, you could do poetry, you could write stories, you could make videos. And then I just have loads of questions, because for me that's so cool, like to have all these different options. And like I've got this story I want to tell. I'm going to blend like an album with the visuals, with this, with that. That's a lot to think about.
Yeah, I would say my first creative medium 100% was, if I remember clearly, the one I remember clearly is drawing. I remember watching Power Rangers, and it's gonna sound so funny, but I just scribbled the colours I saw. Like literally, I'll be the Red Ranger, I get red, scribble it down. Yellow Rangers next to them, scribble it down. So like that was literally the first time. It was just understanding how to replicate what I was seeing. And then growing up, I'm now singing, especially from the Donell Jones. I'm now singing. I used to sing a lot, but I never knew about staying on key. I'm just singing. I'm just keep singing whatever. And then the older I'm getting, I start breakdancing. I can dance and all these. Like it was just coming out and just leaking out. It was weird. Like I was just doing what I saw, but it felt good. That's how my creativity kind of sparked, kind of thing. Yeah. Wow.
So you've got all these mediums, right? Let's talk about the visual side of things. You said to me you were influenced by, it begins with a C, Caravaggio? Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know a huge amount about him, but like, let's talk about your tastes in the visual sense and why you're influenced by him.
One thing I realized about my influences, and whenever anyone asks me that question, is that my influences are quite weird. It's not like I saw them and then I done what I did. It was more coming from a place of I'm doing what I'm doing, but it resonates with these people. So the reason why I never knew about Caravaggio until I was like in uni. I was just we had to do like a research on the artists that we like, and I was like, okay, what artists do I actually like? I didn't even have an artist that I actually liked. I was gonna go Basquiat because he's quite cool and he has very subliminal messages in his art, painting, amazing. Then I saw Caravaggio somewhere. I was like, whoa, and it's scary because that's how I see the world. His art is very contrast. Apparently, he would paint on top of a black canvas. Yeah.
That makes sense, though. Like, looking at his art, from what I've seen, how it's not dark because there's light in there, but the dark is the defining feature, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, 100%. And why I resonate that so much is because that's kind of my art. My art is like, it's quite deep if I say this, but
can I guess what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Like, from all the dark things that happen, right? You know, that's the backdrop, and then you are creating this motivation and this positive story on top of that backdrop, and that's like really framing.
Thank you.
The whole thing.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Exactly how it's like. That's exactly like a reference to how my art in general, in terms of my music, my visuals, everything. That's why even in my visuals, I like things that are contrast. I like when the blacks are black. I like when the colors are a certain way. I like it when it looks like film, like having a grain on top of it, because I realize when it comes to film, anything with grain or it's like dreams. That's why when we remember a lot of older movies because of the look of the colors and the contrast and the lighting, and because with film cameras as well, they actually capture the light that's on the camera, so you remember it much more clearly. So it's much more clearer, and it's like that's just how I see it. So when I saw Caravaggio's painting, I was like, this is what my art looks like. This is what it looks like. This is where it is. Like I like to come from a place of darkness and then build on top of that to create this beautiful picture.
I also think there's an element of realism. Like when you look at his paintings and then maybe compare it to others of a similar era, his have like a photographic feel to it. Like it's so real. He doesn't turn something into something else. It's like you're looking at the reality. 100%. And I think that's a theme that's coming up a lot with your work 100%. And your art as well. I was wondering if that's like something you identified with.
It is because that's what scared me. I think that's what scared me. I thought I was a picture. I thought his paintings were pictures. And I was like, and I've got a very good artistic eye, so I was like, this is scary. He was doing very realistic paintings during that time. And there was always a spiritual connotation to it, faith-wise. And it was like, that's kind of my art to a degree. Because I want my art to hit people physically, mentally, emotionally, but also spiritually. So all his art had a lot of spiritual connotation and very trivial moments in history. And it's like, wow, he captured it amazingly. And I feel like that's what I want my art to be like. It looks like it's dark. It looks like it's dark. But on top of it, it's something beautiful. And I feel like that's just the dichotomy my art has.
Wow. Okay, so looking forward, I've seen a couple of teasers for a project called Freedom Pack. Yeah. It looks exciting. That's all I'll say. I would love to know more about it. Yes. What's the intention with this project?
Yes. So it started from 2020. And I had instrumentals here and there. It always starts with there's just random instrumentals that's just all over the place and not knowing what to do with them. And then I remember building up different songs, and there was one song called "What Are You On," which was produced by Lou, and I'm listening to it. I was we helped each other. I'd be there telling them what to do and stuff. I'm like, bro, this is amazing, and we're doing it. And then I remember the idea was coming from a place of mission. I'm very deep on purpose and destiny and vision and stuff like that. So it was coming on a sense of mission. I'm on a mission. Then I made a beat called My Wings. Amazing. And then I made that, and I was like, whoa, this is getting a bit deep. And then when I made My Wings, it just it's literally my sound, the cinematic, timeless and soulful. And then My Wings, I'm like, why am I calling it My Wings? Even the more I kept saying it, I was like, why is it called My Wings though? Then I broke it down and it's like, oh, and then the first bars were, I'm free from this cage called fear. As soon as I said that, everything changed. And then that's when I was just going into this place of freedom. And then every other song, and I had some other beats from before, and then I just put it together and it just created the track list. And I was like, wow. And in my head, I was thinking, do I want to release this as a project? And I thought, no, I might just release this as singles. So people can just sit with these ideas at a time rather than, oh, he just released a project about freedom.
Yeah.
It's just that you can take one single and then sit with it and take the other one and then break it down. But long story short, yeah, it's just 10 singles about freedom, different aspects of freedom and just make people question like what freedom is and what freedom looks like from different angles.
What's refreshing about your creative process is that it's almost like you're making stuff and then the full realization of what you're doing doesn't hit you until after, right? Questioning your own meaning. And I have that as well. Like when I'm making something, later on I'll be like, oh, was that what I meant when I said this thing?
Yeah.
Like the subconscious is kind of throwing up all this stuff. And that's just so real to me, that, you know, how time can temper these ideas, change them, and then in the end it does make something beautiful. So I'm really excited to see where this project goes in the future. So are you someone, I think you are, but are you someone that can visualize your career?
Yes.
From like start to finish?
Yeah.
These are the projects I'm going to do?
Yes.
Because that's such an oxymoron, because on the one hand you're like that, but on the other hand you're so present and you're letting things happen and change.
You know what's so beautiful about what you just said? It's the fact that beautiful in a sense of timing. What I've realized is I'm aware of where my career is going and all the projects that's coming in the future. I'm actually struggling to be in the present. I think that's a theme that has been happening for quite a long time now. I think if I was more in the present as well, I would have came out earlier than expected. Freedom Pack would have came out much more earlier than expected. However, what's beautiful is that these projects are teaching me how to be present. Because what happens is I have a project called Freedom, then I would have to break down what is freedom. Like that's the research that I'm doing. Like, okay, what is freedom? I'm breaking it down, and then I'm looking at my life, and then what Freedom Pack, for example, has made me go is like, well, am I free? So it's like
like you have these big seeds of ideas, right? Or maybe seed is the wrong word, but these big ideas, and then how they actually materialize and break down is something you kind of navigate as you get through each point.
Yeah, because
that's really cool.
Because when I done Zwar, I was scared to put out Zwar. I didn't think I would get the reception I wanted, or anyone would hear it or whatever. And then I put it out. But once I put it out, I accepted it doesn't matter if people do or don't. I'm just using my talents. That's what the project is actually about. Just use your talent and give it to the world.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who sees it. You actually used it. Then coming with Freedom Pack is you need to be free. I want everyone to be free, but before I told everyone else to be free or questioning freedom, I need to question freedom. So it's like it's funny. It just makes me realize that I'm also a project too.
Yeah.
You know.
The most important one.
The most important project, yeah.
How do you find using social media in terms of, you know, it's an amazing platform, and I mean, there are amazing platforms and we're all connected more because of it, which when you're making music like yours that has a message that the world needs, it's so great that you can just directly access people and talk directly to people. As you say, it's like a relationship. Is it ever difficult being that transparent and also just navigating that on a regular basis with your projects? How do you find that?
Yes, because for example, for me, like, I'm still trying to understand my artistry to a degree. I'm almost done getting to exactly what it looks like, but I think that's just a process that's been happening lately. And what I realize is that with social media, my music, for example, is very purpose-led. It's very like, I'm dealing with topics that are quite heavy, so to speak. and I like challenging people with my music and art in general. But then I'm also a funny guy. So like when people would hear my music and stuff, they'll probably think like I'm just this serious guy 24/7. But then when they meet me and my character and I'm posting up funny videos, it's like, what? Is it the same two people? So I think it's trying to understand the balance and making it clear, making that balance be very clear. So for example, when it comes to my funny stuff, okay guys, go to TikTok for that. But I've introduced it into my Instagram, but it would just direct people back to my TikTok if you want more.
Yeah.
But my Instagram is more for my art, so to speak, and just connecting with people. So I feel like social media, it's good. It's good. But as an artist, sometimes we just got to take breaks as well so that we can just understand what we're really doing. Or even just have a literally detox where we just go back into our mind, into our space and just kind of recharge, because it can be a bit overwhelming.
I like that, you know, you've got your different assets and at the end of the day, that's what makes you unique. Sometimes I do feel that the algorithms make it hard to celebrate difference.
Yes.
And if you've got these like unique things going on that you feel like you don't quite fit, I think that can be challenging, but it sounds like you're sort of nailing it.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Before we finish, I just want to thank you again for being here. Are there any sort of things you'd like to shout out in the short term, things to keep an eye out for?
I'll say, one thing I want to say is that, I don't know, I feel like I'm naturally a teacher, so to speak. Like, it will just come out. I'll just say random things. One thing I do want to share and say is that this year has really taught me that you got to make your character fit your vision. And I wish that whoever hears this, let your character meet your vision. Sometimes you might be worried and be thinking, oh, wow, like, things are not happening yet. Oh, my days, like this, that, and you might get impatient. And then that can make you impulsive. But when you're in that state, you can miss your timeline. You could miss what's really for you. So be very patient and just wait, because what happens is you don't know that there's two processes going on. Yes, you might be waiting on an opportunity and a project or building on a project, but you are a project yourself, and that what's important is that your character is ready for your project, your vision, and your calling. So that's one thing I realized, and I feel like this year's really taught me how human I am, because I used to kind of resist it, like, I'm cool. But one thing I will say is that once Freedom Pack comes out, I think society will finally know what freedom is. Not because of Freedom Pack, hopefully, you know, that would be amazing. But I think let's dive into this concept of freedom, because we need to question it, because freedom isn't what people think it is by just having
Stuff.
Freedom is a state. Freedom is from within. If you're free from within, everything else doesn't really kind of matter.
Yeah.
And to just be in love. Just be in love with what the process, be in love with the people around you, stay in love, and be free at the same time. So Freedom Pack's coming soon. But that's just like a little interlude to like Freedom Pack. But Freedom Pack is coming soon, and whatever Freedom Pack does is what Freedom Pack does. But yeah.
No, those are some big words.
Yeah, I know.
Some words to just digest. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have some thoughts tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you so much, genuinely.
We made it. Huge thanks for listening all the way through today's episode. If you enjoyed it and want to see more content or updates, you can follow us on socials at NoiseITG Podcast. I'll be back next time interviewing Abstract, a music producer who I met at the Roundhouse in Camden. See you soon.
Make it count every single day. Every day it's just another take. Swab means take. Make it count every single day. It's a blessing every breath that you make. Swab.